We're live, everybody, with the No DQ recap of AEW Dynamite for November the 11th, 2020. Shout out to the chat room watching this live. Big show coming off of the Full Gear pay-per-view. I'll also be giving my thoughts on a few of the NXT highlights. Stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and get started with this AEW recap. We had a Veterans Day graphic at the beginning. By the way, happy Veterans Day and thank you to all the men and women that have served. We had a new intro. Well, same song pretty much, but a different intro for AEW Dynamite. Looked very slick, and there are some new match graphics, which I think look really cool. Nice work by AEW. We had our first match of the evening, which was Brian Cage defending the FTW Championship. I think it was a title defense against Matt Sydal. We had Taz cut a promo before the match, talked about how Darby Allin is watching in the rafters and warned Darby to keep his narrow ass in the chair. He talked about Matt Sydal, put him over, said that Matt Sydal is no joke. He even beat Chris Jericho once back in the day. Cage dominated most of the match, but Sydal did manage to make a comeback every now and then, but Cage would overpower him. Cage at one point picked up Sydal and started doing bicep curls. Gives me a little bit of a Scott Steiner vibe, this Brian Cage. And we had Sydal on the top rope. He jumped off the top, but he got caught in midair by Cage, and Cage hit the drill claw, his finishing move, like a Steiner screwdriver. And after the match, Ricky Starks cut a promo, talked about how they are going to run through the AEW roster. They're going to be putting people in the grave, and said, a reference to ECW, the revolution will be televised. Nice opening segment here. And Biblical Adrian, is the FTW title now an official belt in the company? That I'm not sure, but from what I heard, they were going to be doing FTW title matches, but to me, it's not like at the level of the other titles. So it's there, but it's kind of not an official title. I'm not sure how you want to look at it, but I think that just comes down to what you think about the title. Do you consider it to be an actual title, or do you think it's just something Taz threw in there? But yeah, I did like the opening match. And we had Cody Rhodes come to the ring for a promo. He talked about the weather. Apparently, there was a bad storm in Jacksonville, and at one point, there had even been rain coming into the ring area. I guess the winds were very high, like a tropical storm. Cody cut this promo, talked about how he will not be seeking a rematch for the TNT title at this time, because he has another loss that he wants to have expunged. And that loss is from last year's Full Gear pay-per-view against MJF. Or was it Revolution? Whenever it was. It was a while back, before the pandemic. I think it might have been Revolution, because Cody faced Jericho. That's right. So, yeah, it was Revolution. We had, as Cody was cutting this promo, we had this mysterious woman come into the ring, and she started calling out Cody for being a liar. She said her name was Jade Cargill, and she does have a Twitter page. Apparently, she's an up-and-coming indie wrestler. She looks the part. She looks like she could potentially be a big star. I mean, I think she was taller than Cody. She definitely has a star look to her, and she took some serious shots at Cody, saying that Cody claims to be a giant killer, but there is nothing giant about Cody, as she looked down towards his genital region, and that got a big ooh from the crowd. And she said if Cody's going to come out and talk trash, he better keep that shit to himself. Now, wait a minute. I thought Tony Khan was asking fans to not use profanity on Dynamite, but now you got the wrestlers purposely using profanity. TNT censors did try to censor it, but they failed. The shit definitely got through the censor. And she warned Cody to watch his back because there's one real giant out there who is a star, and that person is Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal. Looks like we are getting the seeds planted for Cody versus Shaq. A couple of months ago, Shaq actually did reference Cody, saying that he would like to have a match against Cody, and this appears to be the beginning build for that. Tony Khan had hyped up that this Dynamite was going to have a moment that would change wrestling, and I guess this is it. Cody versus Shaq. WWE never pulled the trigger on a Shaq match. There was talk about Shaq versus Big Show. Never happened. Shaq, his first ever wrestling match in AEW. I think it's a pretty big deal. I know some people are going to be dreading it, but AEW, their goal should be to expand their audience. Shaq is a huge wrestling fan. He's been a fan for decades, and he can bring some serious eyeballs to the AEW product. I'm totally fine with it. I know some AEW diehards don't want to see it, but I want to see AEW grow. I say if Shaq's willing to do it, let's do it. Cody, of course, son of Dusty Rhodes versus Shaquille O'Neal. That will get some mainstream publicity. Now, the segment did continue. I think if I had to criticize this segment, I think they did a bit too much in one segment. I felt like it was 3 or 4 weeks of segments crammed into one segment. You had Brandy Rhodes confront Jade, and she said, "Who said tonight is open mic night, bitch?" And Jade was having none of this. She said, "Talk to the hand." Brandy warned her to never speak to Cody like that again, and told Jade to get her ratchet ass off the stage. Brandy did a really good job here. I thought this was one of her better performances in AEW. And she even called Jade a heifer at one point. Jerry Lynn had to try and get the ladies to separate. Meanwhile, we had more of this segment. As I said, I think maybe they did too much here. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks attacked Cody. Cody was laid out by a powerbomb from Cage, and then Darby Allin ran down and made the save, and they even had Will Hobbs come to the ring also. A little bit too much. I think you could have spread this out over a period of 3 weeks. You could have done 3 different segments here. I think they did a bit too much. But with that said, I do like the setup for this, and Jade can get a rub too by maybe being affiliated with Shaquille O'Neal. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but she could be involved with him, and that can give her a rub as well. So all in all, pretty solid stuff here. Definitely, as Nick Lavin said in the chat room, definitely had Attitude Era vibes for sure. We had a recap of Kenny Omega and Adam Page. Moxley cut a promo, said that the championship represents everyone that cannot pay their bills, kids that get made fun of for liking wrestling, and he said for all those people, he cannot quit. And it's going to take somebody really special to beat Kenny Omega, but Moxley says he's special. He creates magic, and if anybody can do it, it's him. They did announce the match will take place December 2nd, so less than a month away. We will get that AEW championship match. They're not holding off. I figured they would do it in December, but that's why I was thinking maybe Adam Page would win the match, so you could get Page and Moxley on Dynamite and then do Moxley versus Omega at Revolution. But they're also doing a January show. They're not going to be calling it Bash at the Beach anymore, or Bash at the Beach. I was thinking Great American Bash. I always mix those two up. But yeah, they're changing the name to Beach something. I forgot the name of it. Due to Cody dropping the trademark in exchange for being able to use the Cody Rhodes name again. What was it? Somebody help me out in the chat room. It was Beach something, the new name of the pay-per-view. I forgot, not the pay-per-view, the Dynamite Special Edition in January. Anyways, let's move on here. We had the Butcher and the Blade against Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall in a bunkhouse brawl match. You had bales of hay around ringside and various cowboy props. And everyone was wearing their country street clothes. Dustin hit the final reckoning to Butcher on a chair on the outside of the ring. So things were looking good early for the good guys, but then Blade used the guitar, hit QT in the head with it, and QT was busted open from this guitar shot. He had his white shirt on, and perfect opportunity for some color to get all over that white shirt. Bunny, who was out there back with Butcher and Blade, she handcuffed Dustin, and Bunny was helping to open the wound of QT Marshall. Then QT managed to get a fire extinguisher, and you had Dustin and the Butcher fighting up on this platform, and Dustin gave him a bulldog off the platform through this plywood staging area below. Blade then got busted open, and he got busted open quite a bit, as Curtis Butler points out in the chat room. A very Crimson Mask parade in this match. It was pretty significant with Blade. He took his name literally. He had quite the color in this match. By the way, if you would like to support NoDQ.com, NoDQ mugs available at NoDQ.com/merch. Back to the match, we had QT setting up a ladder and doing an elbow drop off the ladder. Blade kicked out, however, and then Butcher and Blade hit their double team move, the full death on Dustin, through two chairs that were set up. However, QT broke up the pinfall, and then QT made a comeback, hit the diamond cutter to Butcher. Bunny ended up accidentally being knocked off the apron by Blade, and that's when Dustin used the cowbell to Blade. QT came in with another diamond cutter and picked up the win. Hell of a match here. I would say pay-per-view quality match. Really good stuff from these guys. Had that good old fight feel to it with all the blood. It was fun. Fun match to watch. Enjoyed it very much. Matt Hardy did a brief promo. They had a recap of the Elite Deletion, and Matt said that Sammy, even though he lost, he's a bigger star now, and Matt had some advice to Sammy. Do not squander what Matt has given him as far as increased star power, I guess you could say. We had our induction ceremony. MJF and Wardlow being inducted into the inner circle. There was a podium set up. Chris Jericho brought up how this is the first time new members have been added to the group since it was formed on October 2nd, 2019. Inner Circle came out minus Sammy Guevara. MJF came out with Wardlow. MJF was very emotional, said that real men cry. And when he broke into the business, his dad only gave him $1 million. That's it. That's all he got. He had to make the most of it when he started his career. He read some poetry, and he was called out by Ortiz saying that MJF stole his poetry from Drake, the R&B artist, and Jericho was being yelled at about MJF, and Jericho said, it's on him. He made the match. He made the offer. If MJF could beat him, he would be added to the group, and said that the Inner Circle will emerge stronger than ever. And MJF added that he doesn't know who Drake is, and said that he started from the bottom and look where he's at now, which I believe is a Drake reference. So that was pretty funny. Even I got that one. And I know nothing about Drake, but I know the whole started from the bottom thing. That was like a meme for a while. And MJF said that they will be celebrating next week. They are going to Vegas for Chris Jericho's 50th birthday. And all these balloons came down. There was confetti. And MJF started singing the birthday song, which I thought was copyrighted. I always thought that you're not supposed to sing the birthday song. But MJF did it. Hey, he had $1 million back then, and he has to have way more now. So he can afford to license that music. Good segment here. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I have to say, this first hour of Dynamite felt more like a 1999 WWE show than a lot of stuff AEW has done. It definitely felt like something out of 1999 because you got the whole Cody thing with Jade, and she was making fun of Cody's genitalia, and you had this whole thing with the balloons and the MJF induction segment. You had the match with all the blood and carnage. Definitely felt like an Attitude Era Raw in this first hour. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great first hour of Dynamite. Best hour of Dynamite in quite a while, in my opinion. Moving on here, we had a recap of the Young Bucks and FTR feud leading up to their match at the pay-per-view, and all these reviewers, their comments were displayed on the screen, including Dave Meltzer praising the match that featured the guys that named their finisher after him. No conflict of interest there whatsoever. We had Alex Marvez talking to the Young Bucks backstage and asked what's next for them. They talked about how FTR will get a rematch, but right now they're looking at fresh opponents. And they mentioned that next week they will be facing a young up-and-coming tag team, Top Flight. So I guess they are going to be the tag team version of Cody, defending their championships against young up-and-comers. Biblical Adrian... Whoa, excuse me. Losing my voice here, and we're only 17 minutes in. Again, thank goodness I got this mug here, nodq.com/merch. Pick up the No DQ mug and other merchandise. So Biblical Adrian says, did No DQ get mentioned? No, as a matter of fact, it did not. We had Shawn Spears versus Scorpio Sky. And it was brought up how Spears has won 11 matches in a row. Granted, all of them are on AEW Dark against indie guys, but whatever. Pretty decent match here between these guys. There was a lot of action on the outside. Sky set up the steel steps and went to do a flying move, but got hit with a super kick by Spears, and then Spears did a sidewalk slam to Scorpio on the steel steps. Scorpio made a comeback. He put on the Scorpio Deathlock, but Spears got to the rope, and then Tully put something in the corner, which was a slug. Apparently there was another slug in the ring, and Scorpio did not want to use it, but Spears, with the other one, hit Scorpio with it and scored the 1-2-3 victory. There you go. Shawn Spears moving on up in the world of AEW. His streak continues, and he actually picks up a big win here on Dynamite. We had Kenny Omega leaving the arena. He had a phone call, and we don't know who he was talking to, but Alex Marvez caught up with him before Kenny could leave. And Kenny talked about his upcoming match with Moxley, how he wants that number one position, brought up how people have been asking, where's the New Japan Kenny? Where's the cleaner? Where's the guy that gets the 5- and 6-star matches? He said that guy has never left. He is just ready to reassume that role. And he said that it will be the biggest Dynamite ever on December 2nd. And he talked about how, yes, Moxley did beat him, but that was a lights out match, non-sanctioned. And as far as he's concerned, it's 0-0. They're going to have a regular, straight-up wrestling match. And then he had to leave. He has a flight to catch. We don't know where he's going. Decent promo here from Moxley, or not Moxley, Kenny Omega. We had at the 9:30 spot every week, 9:30 Eastern, we got the women's match because that's their spot. That is their designated time slot in AEW, 9:30 Eastern. Ty Conti with Anna Jay versus Red Velvet with Brandy Rhodes. Brandy was not really herself because of what happened earlier. Velvet got a near fall, and then Anna Jay slid a chair into the ring to help Ty. Ty, however, did not want to cheat to win. She kicked the chair out of the ring and then ended up picking up the victory with a pump kick, and then she hoisted up Velvet with a gory special and turned that into a knee strike, and then scored the 1-2-3 victory. After the match, you had Anna Jay and Ty hugging it out. All is good with them. But yeah, Ty picks up the win. Did not have to cheat to get the job done. We had Alex Marvez backstage with the Inner Circle, and they talked about their first-class tickets. Sammy Guevara arrived, and apparently MJF sent an email to Sammy to go to the beach. But MJF said that he sent a second email saying to be at the arena. Sammy said he never got that email. He only got the first email that said to go to the beach. MJF gave Sammy the ticket and patted him on the shoulder. So apparently MJF's trying to screw with Sammy and purposely had him go to the beach instead of being there for the induction segment. The plot thickens, as they say. We had our main event of the evening. Eddie Kingston came out to do commentary. It was Penta versus Rey Fenix, a rematch from a couple of weeks ago. Eddie ripped into the fans for chanting his name, and he said that yes, he has to live with quitting to Moxley. However, he will never stop, and he will become the world's champion one day. And he said, you're welcome to the fans for getting this rematch, Penta versus Phoenix 2. Good match here between these two. And basically the storyline was that they have taken it personally. And the announcers even asked Eddie about this dissension and how Eddie's driving a wedge between them. And Eddie was talking about how all they need to do is follow him, follow his lead. And during the match, both guys were trying to rip each other's mask off. And then Penta hit a package pile driver on the apron and then hit a destroyer on the floor, got Phoenix back in the ring and finished him off with another package pile driver. So getting his win back from the loss a couple weeks ago to Phoenix. After the match, Eddie made fun of the fans for chanting, "This is awesome," and "Fight forever," or whatever the Marks chant, his words. He then kicked Phoenix out of the ring and started praising Pentagon for his victory and said that Penta doesn't need the dead weight of his brother. And that's when PAC made his triumphant return to AEW, first appearance at Daly's Place in the flesh since the pandemic began. It was teased last week that he would be coming back. We've seen other people return to the States. We saw Pete Dunne return a few weeks ago. Tony Storm returned, and now PAC is back, which is interesting now that COVID cases are higher than they've ever been in the U.S., and they've been going up in Europe as well. But anyways, referees came down to split them up, and PAC will be in action next week. Nice to see PAC back in action. Overall, really good show from AEW. Definitely turning things up. I give the show an A-. Strong Dynamite. definitely the bulk of it I feel is worth checking out. I was entertained. The show kept me invested from start to finish. They did a nice job of building up next week. They set up their December 2nd show. They're building towards the future. Very good show here from AEW. Israel Diaz with an A, Nick Glavin with an A, Curtis Butler with a high B, Kev with an A-, Kevin with an A-, and Profound Image with a B+, and John Mangala with a B+, and Kim Hall with an A. Now, NXT had a few big moments on this show. The first one involved Johnny Gargano. He came out for this special challenge where a bunch of people's names were on a wheel. He spun the wheel, and it just so happened to land on Leon Ruff. Now, Leon Ruff basically has been an enhancement guy in WWE for the past 6 months. So you would think this would be an easy win for Johnny Gargano, but no. Leon Ruff with a crucifix pin pulled off the 1-2-3 kid-like victory over Razor Ramon, beating the veteran Johnny Gargano to win the North American Championship. Big shocker here to start off the show. And we also had the ghost-faced person who was wearing the Scream costume be identified on this show as Indy Hartwell, which was really no surprise. That was what was reported on. She actually missed the Halloween Havoc show because of the whole COVID-19 outbreak situation. But she was revealed as the person wearing the Scream costume, and Candice LeRae picked up a victory over Toni Storm. So that feud continues, and Shotzi Blackheart came to the ring. We'll probably get a tag match at some point. And those were the two main things that happened on NXT. More stuff from the new faction with Pat McAfee at the end of the show. His team, the Kings of NXT, retained the tag team titles against Breezango. And that was that. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. Be safe, everybody. Stay positive, and I will see you guys next time.